Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventures. Just Dave here today. Today I'm talking about the movie Five Nights at Freddy's. It's going to be a spoiler review, so if you haven't watched the movie yet, I would suggest you go and watch the movie first before you watch this review. It is streaming on Peacock, so if you have Peacock, it's there for free right now. Five Nights at Freddy's is an adaptation of the video game about a security guard who's hired to work overnight at a rundown, shut-down restaurant with creepy animatronics there that come to life. So, as far as what I liked about the movie, overall, I thought the cast was good. I liked Josh Hutcherson in general. I thought he was good as Mike Schmidt, the security guard. I liked Piper Rubio as his daughter Abby. She was very cute. Elizabeth Lail as Vanessa. Matthew Lillard, always good. He was here as Steve Raglan, right? Stuart Masterson, again, always good. Haven't seen her in anything in a while, but I liked her as the kind of aggressive aunt character. And liked Connor Sterling as the babysitter. Yeah. Overall, all good. The rest of the kids were all pretty good. I like the blonde kid. I forget his name. And the other ones, the kids who bust in. Yeah, all solid performances for the most part throughout. Yeah, I enjoyed them. I did like the score. The Newton brothers did the score for this one. They did Oculus, Midnight Mass, Dr. Sleep, a lot of stuff with Mike Flanagan, pretty much everything after Oculus, I think. They also worked on the Goosebumps TV show, and they're doing the X-Men 97 cartoon that's coming back to Disney Plus. I like the break-in scene where they have the kids decide to break in, they get attacked by the animatronics, the Freddy and Foxy and all of them, Chica. That was good. The part where they show the hand kind of reaching up through the mouth, you see it in the trailer. That was a nice, creepy kind of scene. It sort of conveyed the fact that there's kids inside. The kid, I think that same pretty much scene, the kid getting chopped in half by the animatronic. Cool stuff, good stuff. There's also a scene later on where we find out that, again, spoilers here, that Steve is actually William Afton, and he gets kind of like stabbed in with the animatronic, suit and everything there. Good stuff. I liked it. I thought it looked pretty good. I think for the most part, the special effects were pretty solid throughout. I really liked the animatronics. They looked really well, really good. They were done by the Jim Henson Company, and they're mostly, with the exception of Foxy and the Cupcake, people inside of a suit moving around, and then animate, or what do you call them? People working the animatronics to actually make the eyes open and close and the mouth move and stuff like that. But yeah, they looked great. They looked pretty much just like from the game, so that was well done there. I like the artwork, the little kids' artwork that they do, and the way that it ties into the story. She ends up sort of explaining to the kids who are in these animatronics about what happened and about the fact that, William Afton was the bad guy there and they should be attacking him. And yeah, again, Abby was great. She's very cute and very sweet, and I think she worked for what they were going for here. And yeah, the stuff her interacting with the animatronics and all of that worked for me for the most part. As far as what I disliked about the movie, it is a little too long. It's like hour 50 minutes, I think, which I think it could have been and should have been more like an hour and 30. It is a little boring. There's parts of the movie that I thought were just straight boring. There was a good minute there, a couple minutes where I was on the verge of just drifting off to sleep because I was just didn't care what was happening. There's way too much backstory going on here, way too much about Mike and his brother who got abducted when he was a kid, which, don't get me wrong, that's terrible, but like that, and then on top of the fact that he also like attacked a guy when he was a security guard, and so he lost his job over that, and then he's trying to do this sleeping thing so he can somehow change the past or something like that. Just way too much going on. I didn't need any of that. The movie's not very scary. It's supposed to be a horror movie. It's supposed to scare you. And I expected at least jump scares, and there's a couple, but not even as many as I expected. And it's too quiet. Like I said, I like the score, and I realized, especially for a movie with jump scares, you have to have quiet parts that the loud parts then, scare you. But I swear, watching this movie in the theater, I constantly heard people just like chewing and like, coughing and stuff. And not like they were being disruptive, just the movie was so quiet. There's just nothing going on. There's, like I said, if it is going to be jump scares, not enough jump scares. There's really only a few that I remember, and only a couple of them work for me at least. And in some ways, it felt like two stories crammed together. It just felt like you had kind of this story about the whole animatronic thing and all of that, but then you also had the story about like Mike and his brother being abducted when he was younger, and they do come together somewhat. But it felt like in some ways they had two separate screenplays with two separate ideas, and they just stuck them together. And we're like, oh, well, here we go. Now we got it. I didn't like that Mike agreed to give them Abby even though he only did it for a second, he changed his mind. Just I understand he's traumatized by the fact that his brother disappeared however long ago, but I don't know. I just didn't. That didn't seem very believable to me. I didn't like that there seemed to be kind of, sort of a romance going on between Mike and Vanessa, which just kind of, I don't know if they were really going that way, but he's kind of holding her hand in the hospital. And, like, I don't know, once you realize who her dad was, again, spoilers, the bad guy here, then what are you doing, man? I mean, I don't know. I was also, I guess, just surprised because the whole time they had this thing with his brother, and his brother got abducted by William Afton, so he finds that out, so he's involved. So I'm like, okay, cool. Is his brother one of these animatronics? No. So where's his brother? Is that like going to be a movie in the second movie, or what's going on with it? What was all of that? And I think probably the biggest issue for this movie is just it felt like a lot of wasted potential. It seemed like a pretty cool, interesting idea. And it's a very popular IP, very popular franchise and video game. And it seemed like it took too long to put it out, but also, yeah, just very disappointing. Just and I went into this thinking like, okay, that could be fun, that could be creepy, that could be weird, and it just was boring and not very scary at all. So yeah, other than that, the movie is directed by Emma Tammi. Before this, she directed something called The Wind and a couple episodes of a TV show called Into the Dark. Haven't heard of those. It was written by there's a screenplay by Scott Cawthon, Seth Cuddeback, and Emma Tammi, who also directed. And then there's also a story by Scott Cawthon, Chris Lee Hill, and Tyler MacIntyre. That is the first time that I started to worry about this movie. I watched one of the trailers and I'm like, wait, why is there like 6 writers credited? And granted, Scott Cawthon's credited twice, so it's only 5, but I'm like, that seems like a lot of writers. Why do you need 5 people to write a story about a haunted, animatronic, whatever thing? And so, yeah, that definitely concerned me. And I feel like that came out. It seemed like there was a lot of kind of development hell with this and different drafts of the story, different ideas, different directors who came out at different points to do it. Scott Cawthon has been involved throughout. He's the guy who created the game. But yeah, at some point, even he had a script that they were going to shoot and they liked it. And then he decided he didn't like it. And they came up with a new script. So yeah, as far as he goes, Scott Cawthon, he wrote the original game and all of the other games. He mostly worked in video games, something called The Desolate Hope and The Pilgrim's Progress. I'll talk more about those later. Seth Cuddeback is one of the other writers for the screenplay by. He did a movie called Mateo and some shorts. That's it. Emma Tammi, this is her first writing credit, but she's done some other directing. And then the story by was, again, Scott Cawthon, Chris Lee Hill, who wrote Blowing Up Right Now and Tragedy Girls, and Tyler MacIntyre, who also wrote and I believe directed Tragedy Girls, and Patrick, which I think also with Chris Lee Hill. Interesting thing about all of these people is just looking through their IMDb pages to find some of their stuff. A, I haven't heard of any of their stuff, and B, I don't think any of them have a single thing that's above a 6 on IMDb. Now, granted, IMDb scores or whatever, but it does seem like they intentionally picked the most mediocre writers they could find for this to do this, and I don't really understand the reasoning there. So yeah, we did get some cameos here from Matthew Patrick, who does the YouTube stuff, the game theorists, film theorists, food theorists, style theorists, all that stuff. He's the waiter who says, "Oh, I have a theory about that," which is like his thing. He does theories, and kind of why he became famous, or one of the reasons, was he did a lot of theories about Five Nights at Freddy's. We also got what's his name, Corey Williams, Corey X Kenshin, as the cab driver. He's a YouTuber. I was not familiar with him before this. I hadn't heard of him, but I looked him up. He's from Farmington Hills, and he lives in South Lyon, I think, and that's like half an hour from me. So interesting. I don't know much about him, but seemed like a cool enough guy and decent enough actor. So yeah, no Markiplier. I know Markiplier kind of got famous for doing Five Nights at Freddy's, or again, one of the things he did. And I've heard of him. I wasn't that familiar with him until recently. I started watching. He did stuff with Corridor, and I like their stuff. He was an intern with them. And so yeah, I heard he wasn't going to be in this, and I'm like, oh, that's too bad. And I thought maybe that was just a lie. Maybe he was going to be in it, but no, I guess he's busy doing his movie, Iron Lung, I think. So yeah, no Markiplier. So that's a little disappointing, but oh well. It's made by Blumhouse, which I like Blumhouse a lot. Not that I always like their movies, but I like their business model, which is they make movies for fairly cheap, and they make a decent profit because they don't spend a lot of money on their movies. It had a $20 million budget, and it's made $130 million so far. Yeah, so it's definitely in the red and the black, whatever, but the good one, in the black, I think, right? Yeah, so it's making money. They've already made money. They're happy. I'm sure they're going to push forward with their sequels. Hopefully, they get a better script or some better writers in there. It also released on Peacock the same time as in theaters, which is impressive that it managed to make that much money, considering that it's also streaming for anyone who has Peacock. And if I would have known that, I would have just probably watched it at home. But I bought the tickets, or I came up with the plan to go with my niece before I knew it was going to be on Peacock. So yeah, and I did see it with my niece, who has played the games and is more familiar with the lore. According to her, they actually got a lot of it right. They made some changes, but it sounds like for the most part, it was pretty close to at least the idea of the games. Some minor character changes, and she liked it. She, I think, initially said it was, maybe like an 8. And then I think after I kind of shit all over it, she dropped it down to a 7. But yeah. So it sounds like for at least fans of the games, they seem to like it. And the Rotten Tomato score reflects that, because critic score is at 28%, but the audience is at 88%. So one of the biggest that I've seen here, and it makes sense in some ways, because I can see why critics who watch a lot of horror movies would be a little underwhelmed by this. But I think people who like Five Nights at Freddy's want to see their favorite characters on screen, and they got that, and they look like them, they act like them. So I can see why they would be happy with it. But yeah, for me, I have to side more with the critics on this one, I think. So the game came out in 2014, and which I was trying to figure out. In my head, I was estimating about 10 years. So I do think it's funny that it took that long to make this into a movie, although it seems like longer. But also that they really kind of went for the PG-13 rating, which I understand it's popular with kids, and that's where your money is, and you make more money in PG in general. But it also seems like a lot of the kids who were playing it when it first came out 9 years ago are probably old enough to see R-rated movies now. So, like, I don't know. And then, yeah, one more thing about Scott Cawthon. I didn't find this out until recently, but yeah, so the other games he worked on, The Desolate Hope and The Pilgrim's Progress. Desolate Hope is, from what I understand, sort of has a very pro-life kind of thing, and an anti-abortion element to the game. I haven't played the game, but that's what I understand. And Pilgrim's Progress, from what I understand, is also a religious game that has to do with Christian myths, Christianity, whatever kind of stuff. Apparently, he has been kind of criticized for donating to a lot of Republican politicians and a lot of conservative causes, despite the fact that he kind of seemed to hide that, or seemed to say that he kind of did both. And I don't remember enough to go into any further, but it sounds like he's not the kind of person who I would want to hang out with at all. But hey, he made a game and people seem to like it, so good for him, I guess. As far as my score on this one, well, Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I think it had a lot of potential, and it didn't really live up to that potential, and I was disappointed by it. But I did like the character designs, I liked the music, and I thought there's a lot there to like. And so, hey, you know what? I'll see the second movie. Hopefully, it's better than the first. But if you saw the movie, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night. I will see you here again next week.